Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the RENNSPORT community events. And today we will have a new feature, just as last time. And as you can already see, it's a bit darker here in Spa-Francorchamps in Belgium, because in this event we will drive into the night and make use of the newly added daytime feature, as well as, which released just today, a brand new tire update, which we will learn about a bit later in the stream. And yeah, my name is Lino. Probably most of you are accustomed to my name at this point, if you like it or not. And later on, Remco Major will also join us in the commentator booth, and he will be able to talk you through the new tires, through the updates, as we see Joachim Thunder in one of the Porsches fighting in practice already. And yeah, it's a pretty cool race, special race also in terms of length, because it's the longest race we ever won in the RCE or RCL events respectively, with 40 minutes in distance. Of course, we will have a reduced fuel consumption due to that, because otherwise the cars would run out of fuel on the base setup which we are using. So that is taken care of. So these cars can definitely run those 40 minutes on one tank of fuel. Will only be a bit of a challenge with the tires, as we now go into qualifying. And apart from all of that, in terms of the race and the features we are running, we also have a couple of different news regarding the next RCE event in 2 weeks and many other things. But as said, we will talk you through that in a bit, because now it's time for qualifying, which will actually be in the daytime. As we see Dominik Ladler coming out of the pits right there. And as you can see on the top left already, we have quite the stacked grid. We have the Dominik Ladler, as I've already mentioned. And we also have Joachim Thunder, of course, in an Audi. We haven't seen him in an Audi for a very long time. As well as a couple of RENNSPORT devs, actually. We have Alex Emmer in the AMG with the beautiful green hell livery, which was obtainable during the 24-hour Nürburgring, I think, last year. And as well as Lukas Bender, who's also driving the Porsche. So there you have your two Discord admins. You might as well recognize the names. As well as somebody we haven't seen in an RCE before, I think, because Etienne Rossipon, which I completely butchered the name because I never talked to him in his last name, to be honest. But he's also driving the AMG, so you have a very good mix of cars. 2 AMGs, 3 Audis, 4 Porsches, and even a BMW again, which is good to see. So we have them on the server. But we also have a couple of regulars, such as Timothy Fridge. Has been in, I think, all RCL events so far, as well as a couple of RCEs. So it's good to see him. Uwe Wilms was joining KCG last week. I think it was his first appearance in a bigger competition or a bigger race competition. Of course, also one of our moderators in Tim Island in the BMW. So I actually have 2 BMWs because I completely oversaw his. But also a couple of other regulars and new drivers, Nadi, Sommersteel and Subanin. So they now make their way through and onto the start-finish straight. And we have 10 minutes of qualifying to go now, so the people have quite a lot of time to put a valid lap time in. As always, you can follow the live timings in the app. Just go to customs, to contests, and look for the RENNSPORT community event, and you'll be able to see live timings, live positioning, and all that kind of stuff. So Dominik Ladler is the first one on a flying lap. It'll be interesting to see what he can put down with those new tires. It's pretty much even ground for most of the drivers, as with the tire update, a lot of behavior has changed on the cars, for the better, I may add. And therefore, yeah, a lot of experience, some people, especially like Dominik Ladler and Joachim Thunder, who are basically veterans at this point, they don't have the experience advantage they usually have. So other people may have a chance at this event to get a bit closer to them. And maybe to make their race a bit harder than it used to be. But as you can see so far, looking very good from Dominik Ladler here. He's making his way through Sector 2. So currently we have a few Discord issues. Therefore, Remco Major can't be in the stream for now, because he's basically the expert on those new tires. But it's now Dominik Ladler coming through the bus stop chicane. Etienne very close behind though, so he has gained on this lap, but it's also only the banker lap, so we can't read too much into it. And it's a 2:18.1 for Ladler and a 2:17.5 for Etienne, which are both very good lap times. Lucas Bender putting down a 2:28. So the first times are coming in at this point. Tim Island making his way through the bus stop chicane as well. And I think there we have him. Remco, do you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Welcome to the stream.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. This is going to be an exciting one. So there's, of course, an update drop today, and it's going to be the longest one as well we have ever done up until now. So it's going to be interesting. Though first we're going to see what people can do in qualifying, and after that we will have the 40-minute race, which is going to be exciting to say the least.
Yeah, indeed, it's pretty much unpredictable, especially with the names here from the grid. We haven't seen Alex Emmer for a long time, for example. I think the last time we saw him was in the RCE event we had at Monza with the TCRs, if I remember that correctly.
Did he crash there?
Not on my end so far, no. I think that one went pretty... No, you had the collision with Thunder, right? Or was it Alex?
That was Alex.
Oh yeah, true.
I didn't have any collisions. That was a very good event, by the way, because I ended up quite high. Was an esports driver there as well, so it was very competitive. And today it will also be competitive with some quite quick drivers out there. HN, of course, he made the physics. I mean, he made the tires. So he knows what he's doing with this car. Dominik Ladler is a very quick driver. Alex Emmer definitely knows what he's doing, of course. Joachim Thunder, I think, is right behind there. He might be in it if they start fighting, but I don't think he will be able to get up the pace of those drivers ahead of that.
Well, I wouldn't count him out still, though. He put up a big show the last times. Of course, in Daytona he was a bit off Dominik Ladler, but if you think back to KCG last week, where he entered KCG for the first time and beat Dominik Ladler straight up in a touring car, that was quite impressive. So he's definitely someone who can adapt quite fast at this point.
Indeed, and in the Mission R he beat Ladler, so...
Oh yeah, true, that was as well.
Which I, by the way, won. But, yeah, the qualifying right now, it looks like people are having trouble setting valid lap times at this moment. Ladler is already in his 4th lap right now. Let me just check one thing. There is less than 2 minutes left, and this is 2 minutes, 2 minute plus lap. So time is actually on the short side. on the tight side for the drivers that still have to put down a lap time.
Yeah, indeed, of course, bar big lap, 2 minutes and 16, 17, 18 lap times, as we see. Timothy Fitch is pulling out a major drift there out of Las Vegas. This lap won't be completed anyways, but he's put it in 6th position. We know from him that he's a very consistent driver, consistently scoring in the ranked community league events.
It looks like we're seeing some names which I'm not sure how quick they are. People like Jean Gomez, U. Williams, and the likes. I haven't seen them race a lot. Maybe you have seen them a bit more. But right now, yeah.
So we have a 12-car grid, as Jean Gomez just joined as well. He was the last one missing. So it's actually, I think, the first time we have a full grid of cars due to the split system, which usually took a few cars off the top split to have it evened out with the second or third split. So it's very good to see that we have a 12-car grid finally.
It's already good, like very interested. We have exactly 12 drivers. And for all of them to be in here, let's hope nobody disconnects or has issues like last GT3 race at Daytona, where we had some very quick drivers having issues.
Yeah, in the form of Shigani.
But it looks like HN is taking pole position from front of Dominic Ladler. People are
Indeed.
still getting used to it. So, yeah, let's see what the race will bring then. It's 40 minutes, quite a long one.
Yeah, Patrick, that's a very good question with the time model. And we will get you through that as soon as we have time in the race. Because now it's time to actually start the race as the drivers are getting onto the grid in this very moment.
Exactly, we will first have the start and stuff, and it will at some point die down a little bit. Everyone will get into like their own rhythm, and that's the moment where I will talk you through all the tire model changes and what exactly is different. And it looks like people are revving up their engines.
Well, they're also using their flashers. This race is starting at 20 o'clock in Spa with a time multiplier, so we will definitely go into the night, starting at sundown. And we can hear the engines live up. So the lights will go green in just a second.
Off.
Not quite.
And it looks like HN has a solid start, but he gets dived down the inside. It is Lucas. Alex Emmer actually overtook him. And Lucas Bender is in the lead with Alex Emmer right behind him and Dominic Ladler in third. HN, although he got pole position, he is going fourth through Eau Rouge. Looks like behind everything went quite clean. No one is spinning, no one is crashing. People are still in line. That is good to see. And of course, HN wants to get back, and it looks like Lucas Bender is under pressure from Alex. Alex Emmer is in the lead right now, and HN completes the move around the outside of Dominic Ladler. That was a beautiful move. Very well done. And right now he's instantly up on the behind of Lucas Bender and dives on the inside. Goes downhill, but he doesn't make it. And actually, it was Dominic Ladler who tried to go a little bit around the outside. There was a slight bit of contact. Oh, in speaker's corner. That's a risky move, but he completes it. So, HN making the most risky moves underneath Lucas Bender. And Dominic Ladler follows him into Puhan. And that means that Alex Emmer has a 1.5 second lead in front of HN, who will probably follow him and try to get back all the time that he lost during the start. Further back, you've got Joris Nardi in front of Tim Ireland. Joachim Thunder is in 7th, so not the start that he probably hoped to have.
Yeah, the AMG is looking very strong in this opening phase. We have had a lot of fights we were able to see I think it was Tim Island getting past Joachim Thunder and Speaker's Corner as well after you said that. But the two AMGs having a very good start, getting past both Ladler and Bender. But Dominic Ladler has not given up on that AMG of Etienne.
No, he's right. Up is behind, and there is this bust-up coming up, but no, he doesn't do anything. He will try to follow him probably, because maybe he knows that HN knows how the tires behave and how to keep them alive for the longest. Dominic Ladler, of course, had the trouble with the Porsche Mission R, where he overcooked the tires, where he spun and couldn't get into a rhythm. He right now wants to turn it around. It's slowly getting darker, but it does mean that you have to get into a rhythm, have to find your way through this track, also in the dark, which is going to be a lot harder. But right now, it looks like that HN is slowly creeping back into Alex Emmer's lead. And Dominic Ladler is actually taking a look on Camel Straight, going into this turn combinations. Yeah, HN is on the outside. He's not keeping that. He is not keeping that. So,
can you also see a couple of cars not having the lights on so far? Later in the race stage, you will get a notification to turn on your lights. Of course, right now it's sundown. It's not as bad, but once it gets a bit darker, and you can see it getting darker from second to second due to the time lapse. Oh, as the BMWs get very close together, that was Tim Island missing his braking run, and Jean Gomez, I think he started last on the grid, is up into sixth. I think he also was part of the RCL race last time around in Daytona. It's a very good race.
Of course, we had quite a few drivers who have not set a time in qualifying. So there will be quick drivers coming up from the rear of the grid. Jean Gomez probably being one of them. And actually, like, having to overtake on track, which is good to see.
And you can see the front pack of Alex Emmer, Dominic Ladler, and Etienne Ospon keeping it quite close together for now. Joachim Thunder had not the best start. I think all the Audis dropped back a bit at the start, had a few issues with each other there. At this stage, Samastil over Williams dropped back. Not sure what happened there.
Well, I know what is going to happen, and that's that there is going to be a fight for the lead. Dominic Ladler and Etienne, they're still battling, by the way.
And Etienne got past Ladler again, didn't he?
Yeah, that came out of nowhere into the bus stop because there was like half a second between them. That was one hell of an outbraking maneuver by Etienne, and that does mean though that Alex Emmer is actually making the gap larger again to Etienne because of that move. So if Etienne and Dominic Ladler stop fighting with each other, they might actually catch Alex Emmer. But at this moment, Alex Emmer is running away with it.
But it's getting darker now, so you can see the shadows are growing larger. The sun is setting down more and more. And now it will be quite quick until it's very dark and the real challenge begins. Right now you can see your braking marks, they are quite clearly visible. If we jump on board with Etienne, for example, now down into turn 8, you can clearly see everything. But once it goes a bit darker, it will be a bit harder to find them. Of course, you have very bright lights in those cars. The high beams illuminate a lot of the track, but you have to adapt to it.
Meanwhile, there is a fight for position 8 between Joachim Thunder and Michel Samastil. And it looks like Joachim Thunder is ahead, and there was actually some lag, I think. There
was a collision between Tim Island and Joachim Thunder, and that's why Joachim Thunder ended up behind Samastil and Samastil up into P7. Which was very interesting.
I'm not sure what happened there. I mean, we will probably hear after the race what happened there, because that didn't seem like a driver error, that seemed more like a technical issue. But they keep going on. Joachim Thunder, can he maybe get back? But meanwhile in the front, it is getting close, because they are getting to the bus stop again, of course. They are going towards Blanchimont right now. like the three of them together, there's not much. 7/10 between all three of them.
Side by side between Joachim Thunder and Samasir further back in the middle complex of Sector 2, and Joachim Thunder up into P7.
And meanwhile, for P2, Dominic Latter thought about it, but did not complete the move. Maybe he realized that if they work together... Oh,
HN.
and that HN spins! How? Why? He knows himself the best that you can't use TC0. You have to watch out for a wheel spin, and he completely failed. He just spun up his rear tires out of the exit, which is one thing with this new tire model, which you will notice. The wheels don't have endless amount of grip. If you go over the limit, they will spin up, they will overheat, and when you overheat, you don't have any grip. So it will be a few turns before HN will get the full grip back. And at this moment, Timothy Freach is right behind him, trying to pick that spot on this long straight, going towards a turn combination, which is a right, left, right, which is going to be tough to overtake on. Definitely from that far back. So it looks like he's gonna stay behind, and it looks like HN has got his tires back into the right temperatures. But this does mean it is a long race still 32 minutes remaining. But the 32 minutes remaining, Dominic Latter is 1.8 seconds behind Alex Emmer right now. Because of that mistake, Dominic Latter actually made contact with HN, so he lost time with that. But for HN, it's 11.5 seconds. That's quite a lot to get back. But if he keeps the stuff together, if he keeps it in a straight line and he gets back into this rhythm, he might make it within this very large time frame still.
Well, maybe this is also a good opportunity to talk about the new tires, as you've seen how they behave a bit over the course of the start, and also how you can light them up without wanting to in a quite quick manner. But don't you want to tell us what's new about the tires compared to the old tires?
Yes. I have worked with HN himself, who is an amazing person, by the way. He puts all his love into this, and he pulled me with him to test these tires. And what has changed with these tires? Originally, in the first versions of RENNSPORT, we had tires that had a lot of slip angle. You could throw them into turns, they would slide, you would not really spin out. So it became more of like a drifting event more than anything. And you saw that in R1, where a lot of, like that overdriving was the standard. If you want to be quick, you use TC0, and you could just smash the throttle and nothing would happen. Right now, the tires are actually, a lot more sensitive to sliding. If you get, there is a point of no return, which means that if you go over the limit and you get at a large slip angle, you will spin out. Which means that you will be far more feeling like you're on the limit. Also, there is overall just less grip. Definitely at the higher slip angles. When you're spinning your wheels, there's a lot less grip, which means that you have to control your car a lot more. There, of course, are a few issues still with the tire model. It's not perfect yet, and yeah, we are still working on that. But right now, what it actually feels like, you can feel what the car is doing a lot more because of it. Because there have also been some adjustments to steering racks and that kind of stuff. Like, all those physics all tie into your force feedback as well. So this just means you can feel what the car is doing. If it's oversteering, you will be able to counter it, but you cannot go for an unlimited slip angle anymore. And that is really what you're seeing here. And the reason why HEN himself, out of all people, managed to spin out of quite a simple turn, actually.
Oh, as we see Dominic Ladler also going round in the final turn, as you just say that. Also lost it on the curb to too much throttle, probably.
Really?
Yeah, indeed. And that's Etienne now.
Really?
Looking very good to get close again. And
Oh, and behind there's some. Oh, they're just touching each other and spinning out. Oh, it's pretty much a commentary curse. It is gonna be tough though, because when you spin, the tires will take maybe even a full lap to get back to their optimal operating range. The first few turns, it might even be very hard to control. Like, you see Lucas Bender there, actually having that bit of oversteer because he spun. And he just has it calmly, and once he does take it calmly for a few turns, he will be able to go full throttle through a Rouge again, like you see here. And, I mean, it is a lot more exciting to watch, because right now you know that the drivers are on the limit. When they start pushing, when they start going for something, you know they are risking it. HN is risking it. He's less than 10 seconds behind Alexander Emmer. Dominic Ladler, will he be able to get back to his own rhythm again? That's going to be tough to see, but right now it looks like it, because he is a steady 2 seconds ahead of HN. So, if that's the case, if he's steadily staying ahead of HN, can they maybe catch Alexander Emmer together again? Which is interesting, because I remember for one of the first RCEs, Alexander Emmer was the one making the mistakes. Not Dominic Ladler, not any of the other drivers on the grid. But Alexander Emmer is keeping it really safe here. In the AMG, which I, by the way, also want to talk about. There are 2 AMGs, 2 BMWs, 4 Porsches, and 3 Audis. The cars are so much more closer together right now. All the cars feel good, and you can just choose the car that fits you. And when you take the car, you can be competitive. It doesn't matter, like, which one you choose. You don't have to choose one because of a BOP or anything. They just so close together. And this is not because of that they're using the same physics or anything, because they are not. They only share the same tires. But they've got their own characteristics, and all can be just as quick. This has taken a lot of time to get right, though. So, yeah. It's good to see that we are not seeing the Porsche Cup anymore like we have seen before.
Indeed, I think it's the most even spread we had so far in the GT3 fields. As you can see, as you already mentioned, as I also mentioned at the start of the stream, how many different cars, how evenly distributed they are. But it's also...
Oh, Alexander Emmer spun! Alexander Emmer spun!
Oh, indeed. In the exit of...
And that means that he is right in front of Dominic Ladler, the HN.
Dominic Ladler on the inside.
I should stop speaking. Everyone that I mentioned is spinning.
Well, at this rate, pretty much everybody will spin at least once. We are 15 minutes into the race. There's still 25 minutes to go, and as you can see now, it's getting really dark, but you can already see how good this game can look at night already, and we haven't implemented so many features that we are still planning to add in future points of the update cycles. So today you had the 1.8.3 update, and next up will be the 1.8.5 update, containing a lot of stuff that our colleagues like Lucas Bender, who's also in this race, of course, talked about in the podcast, basically. So if you want to check that out, it's highly recommendable. You can always find it via the Discord or on the RENNSPORT Socials radio check. And there they talk you through about the major updates, about the major content updates, especially that we will have next up, 1.8.5.
Exactly. As we know, they also share the roadmap. All the updates are about endurance racing. This means the day-night cycle, for one, is part of it. This tire model actually is a lot better for endurance racing than the previous one as well. The tire heat actually comes down after you're driving slowly. With the first iteration, it was a lot like you started driving and you got slower and slower and slower, not because of tire wear, but because of tire heat. And it was very hard to cool them down. Right now, the tires actually cool down whilst you're driving on a straight again, which means that you can do much longer races without spinning out. Although everyone has shown today that people are still spinning out and finding trouble with this. But it is a lot more fun to watch, I can tell you. Jean Gomez is meanwhile in 7th place in front of Tim Ireland. Behind there's Juris Nardi, who is in a very close proximity with Michel Zamastil. It looks like there's 1 second in between them.
Yeah, you just mentioned tire wear as well. I just want to add that tire wear should be really implemented with this update as well. Before you only had the tire heat and tire pressure to go by, depending on your tire performance. Just noticing I'm using the word tire a lot, but of course this update is all about tires, so it probably makes sense. But now you also be able to see your tire live.
Exactly. And I will share you a little secret about tire wear. These tires can handle about a full stint and a little bit more on, for their full lifespan. What they have underneath are the soft tire compound, as far as I know. Don't quote me on that though, but I think it's a soft tire compound, so the others will probably live longer. But as these are soft tires, it will also make sense that they wear out a little bit quicker. So this 40-minute race, they will start to feel tire wear. Trust me, they will. And if you spin like some of those did, you wear a lot of the tires. And if you're getting low enough, your lap time times will drop like a brick even.
Yeah, it's a bit comparable between, so if you follow real-life racing events, you will always encounter different compounds of tires, even though you won't see or can distinct them from the outside. For example, a series like the DTM will have softer compounds, something that we use on these cars as well. So for sprint racing, but for example in the WEC, you will have harder compounds where you will also be able to triple or at least double stint a tire throughout its lifespan.
HN is pushing again because he is really starting to get close to Dominic Ladler, and he is actually trying to stay up his rear bumper, up his rear diffuser, just so he can maybe even set up an overtake into the bus stop. But as we know, if he is really on the limit for this, there is a chance that he will make a mistake again. And I will not say that too loudly because maybe he will.
You jinxed it often enough today.
Yes, exactly.
But while we are now on the hood cam with Etienne, what I find very beautiful about the night is the skybox. So we are right now in June in-game. Oh, as Etienne goes very wide there across the gravel. Manages to keep it pointing in the right direction, but lost him a bit of time. But the skybox, so in general, like the sky, is looking fantastic in my opinion, my humble opinion. Even though it's still a very early version of what we might have later.
Exactly. The team has done a very good job on this. And I mean, the night racing, it's just great. It's a must-have for endurance racing, which is why it's in there right now. And I mean, it looks beautiful. It is much harder to like navigate your way over Spa-Francorchamps. And you know, it's just great to race, great to watch. What else more do you want?
And it's also a very different challenge to what you're used to. So daytime racing, of course, with its own challenges. But at night, you're so isolated in your groove, especially if you're a bit more alone on track, as Joachim Thunder, for example. Sure, he has Timothy Fridge in his mirrors, but up front, he has nothing but basically dark asphalt to watch, only illuminated by his car.
I bet you some people have missed their braking points just because they haven't practiced in the dark, or like suddenly the turn is there even though maybe they miscount brake markers, which I have done myself. Because normally during the daytime you can see all the brake markers from very far, and in the dark you will see them a lot later. And yeah, it's just a different challenge.
It also gives you a very different vibe to driving. Everybody is different in that regard. But for example, I feel a lot more calm driving in darker hours. Just because
that might be because usually when an endurance race gets into the dark, you have driven for a lot of hours already, and you're just in the rhythm, just ticking away laps. That's a very big part of that.
Yeah, of course, true. Also, in your longer race, of course, you might as well have driver swaps. Something that we are looking, of course, into as well for the future. But for now, it's single driver for one race. But you're very limited in what you can concentrate on. There's not much else you can focus on because you just don't see anything else but the track and the road ahead of you, maybe a car ahead of you. But that's about it. And some drivers can cope with it better than others. It's a very different skill set, as we mentioned previously. And it's also, for some people, maybe easier to just follow a car due to not being able to be distracted by anything. On the other hand, if you have a flashing light in your rear view mirror, it might as well distract you even more. So if you have a flasher, trigger-happy driver in your mirror, then it might be a bit more stressful.
I hate those flashing lights. It's just the thing is, it might be good for like multi-class racing to like warn it you that there's a quick car coming up, but a lot of times you see that flasher being used just to annoy the car in front, and that I'm not a fan of. But I just want to mention, by the way, HN is half a second behind Dominic Latler. He's staying there. Has he learned that if he starts pushing that he is able to spin out? I think that's what's happening. He is learning.
At this point you can call him machine learning. But yeah, indeed, he's doing a very good job now, keeping up with Lada. But Lada's also looking very strong here. And Alex Amber, if these two start fighting, he's only 3 seconds behind them. He still has a fighting chance. And also, just to mention real quick, Joachim Thunder, we've seen it down in P10 after lap 1. He's up into P5.
That is yeah, he made a lot of progress with the Audi, by the way. I can tell you from experience, the Audi is one of the harder cars to drive from these four. It's a bit more twitchy, it's a bit more a bit pointier. Some people like it, some people hate it. It's pretty much the opposite of the Mercedes. So I am very surprised that he is keeping that thing in a straight line. As I don't know, I'm gonna knock on wood. He's keeping it in a straight line because it's such a tough car to handle, and it's one of the cars which you will likely like overheat the tires a little bit earlier. But you can extract so much pace out of it if you know how to drive it.
Indeed. I mean, I can only tell that for my part, I'm driving a lot of Audi. That's basically my main choice of car. Because I like the twitchiness and the way it handles due to that. But I've also heard it doesn't even matter which platform it is. Just the characteristic of the car not fitting to many drivers who have a very smooth driving style. For you, for example, I know you drive a lot of Porsche. A lot of, well, rear engine, of course. Behaves a bit different.
Yeah. Indeed, before the update, I definitely drove a lot of Porsche. right now might be the Audi, which is my favorite. But of course, the McLaren has also been announced, and I like that one. That one is a beautiful car. It's also rear-engined, like actually mid-engined.
Mid-engine. But it's
Yeah,
very
I know.
different to the
But
Audi.
that engine is in the rear, so it's rear-engined. Don't make it more complicated than it should be.
Well, it technically is the difference, but of course they already... You could say it's a mid-engine car and it's like the i8, but it's not at all. You can already see just by putting the cars side by side, the R8 is much shorter wheelbase, means it's twitchier.
But if you call that a mid-engined car, the AMG's front end is
It's
so
front
large.
mid-engined.
That you can call it mid-engine as well, because it's so large, the front end.
Well, it is technically mid-engine, but it's front mid-engine.
Front mid-engine.
Yeah.
Oh, the terms are getting more creative every day.
It always depends, so maybe a bit of race car science with Remco and Lino. So the placement of the engine determines, of course, what type of car you drive. A front engine car has the engine sitting directly on the front axle. It's your typical front wheel drive car, usually, or most of modern sports cars. With GT3 cars, it's a bit more difficult, but the BMW is basically a front engine car, even though there also the engine is quite far back, but it's still sitting mostly on the front axle. So the main weight is transferred through the front axle. On the other hand, you have your favorite Porsche 911 GT3 or any other Porsche 911, where the axle is sitting directly on the rear axle of the car. That means your main weight of the engine is sitting directly on the driven wheels, which has a lot of, well, of course, advantages while accelerating. Also has its disadvantages. Everybody who drove a Porsche before knows it's understeery. But that's basically your rear engine. And a car like the Audi, which Joachim Thunder, for example, is driving, is mid-engine, as the engine is neither sitting on the front or the rear axle, but in this case it's sitting behind the driver, but not on an axle, so the weight is distributed quite evenly across the two. Of course, with a bit more bias to the rear, because it's sitting closer to the rear axle. And a car like the AMG, for example, you can see this very long front end. Lot of distance between the cabin and the front axle. The engine is sitting kind of in between the front axle and the cabin. That means the weight is still on the front, so it's a front engine car in that regard, but it's not on the front axle. It's also what the Mustang GT3, for example, has, as it's pushed so far back that it's also a front mid-engined car. So theoretically it's a mid-engine car, but the engine is still in the front, so can call it front mid-engine. In the end, they are all race cars.
And you can be just quick with all of them. Just like the engine placement is a very important thing that affects like how the car handles, how it drives, if it actually suits you or not.
Yeah, indeed, because it changes the point of rotation.
Oh, HN had a bit of a oversteer moment again out of the bus stop. He's actually lost quite a bit of time with that. See, you can spin up your wheels, not crash out, but still lose time. And that is what's so great about this tire model. If you push, you will make mistakes. And even the tiny ones, you will notice. And trust me, Dominic Latterer has noticed that one as well. He knows that he's in a good position with HN being on the limit and making small, tiny mistakes.
Yeah, that's also a factor now over the distance. We have 30 minutes completed. That's basically past what we drove usually. So it's a new distance record.
I think Timothy Vries spun in the bus stop. Yes, he actually did. So he lost time. Joachim Tunner's in 5th now.
He was in 5th before. Timothy Fritsch was very close behind him, though.
Yeah, but there's 10 seconds in between them now.
Yeah, so pretty much. But Timothy Fritsch is still 10 seconds clear of Gomez, so unless he does further mistakes on that overheated tire now, he should be good. Lukas Bender, meanwhile, quietly in 4th all the time, which is very good to see for him.
Yeah, I mean, as long as you stay quiet, it also means you're not crashing or spinning.
That's true. I can't remember who it was, but somebody said it's a good race when you're not mentioned on the broadcast in one way or another.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you dominate, you won't be mentioned a lot. But when you're like Lucas Bender, driving a Ford, no one in front of you, no one behind you, it means you will have likely a solid race. It looks like HN, after that mistake, has clawed back. He's only 6 tenths behind instead of 1.1 seconds. I mean, is he just waiting for the end of the race? Because there is 8 minutes remaining in the race. Is he just waiting for a last lap dive bomb into the bus stop? Because he also knows if he gets in front right now, Dominic Later can just follow him. Drive the exact same lap times, drive the exact same lines, see what he is doing, learn from him, and maybe get back like a lap later. Because draft is a thing. If you get behind the car in front, you get into the dirty air, you have less air resistance, you will get a higher top speed.
At the cost of lesser front end grip, especially front end grip, of course, also wheels affect quite a bit, but that also affects tire wear again because you're sliding more. And depending on the car, it is more or less of a problem, as we see Dominic Lauda being a bit wide, I think they're on the top of Rouge. But
This is now half a second. He's slowly getting closer again. But he will get, as you just said, he will get too close in this very, like, there will be a lot of turns. If it's very technical, yeah. And you will need the front end here. And if you're that close, you will notice, like, it just, I mean, as I say that, he's just 2.5 tenths behind him and actually nearly in his rear bumper. HN is not too phased about that dirty air, but right now you see there was a long right-hander and a quick left-hander, and he didn't stay as close as he was before. But right here on the straight, he pulls back to it again through Kuhan, of course, a very quick double left-hander, and you can I can actually see on the interval he just was 2 tenths behind and he just lost a tenth. It's just very hard to stay there. With the GT3s it's not too bad. If you get higher downforce cars like open wheelers, you will feel it more, of course. But also in these cars you will notice it. And luckily there is a very long straight wheels. Oh, HN is just trying to go to the beach there. He just goes 2 wheels through the gravel trap, but still manages to keep his foot in and stay close enough to maybe do an overtake. Maybe set up for one. Right here at the bus stop. Is he close enough? Is he gonna look to the inside? He is looking, but Dominic Lathler, you can see he is defending a little bit under braking.
oh, and he's lost
Oh
it.
my, he spins!
He lost it under
He
acceleration.
spins! HM was pushing him so much that he actually pushed him into a mistake. That means Alexander Emmer, who wasn't making mistakes, is in front of Dominic Lathler. But you actually could see like Dominic Lathler was under pressure as he was not on the racing line anymore. He was a little bit more towards the middle of the track, trying to fend off and make it harder for HN to do a dive bomb around like on the inside, but still not giving him enough space on the outside to do a very good outbreaking maneuver around the outside, because that is also still very doable around the bus stop. As long as you stay alongside the other driver, you can just swoop around the outside, and then the next one is the left-hander, you can take it. But he did not need that. It's a shame, but can Dominic Lathler now get his tires back into shape? I hope so for him, but I don't think he has the pace of HN, and definitely not with his last 2 laps, I think that's gonna be.
Yeah, that will be 2
like
laps left.
2 or 3, yeah, after this too. I mean, he's not gonna get back an 8-second gap. That's not going to happen. Also, 4 seconds is very tough. Definitely, if you want to push more. I mean, if he makes another mistake, he will overheat his tires even more. Maybe wear them out so much that maybe Lucas Bender gets into a podium position here.
I mean, until that happens, it's still quite a lot. There's 20 seconds between Lada and Bender, but of course, never count out anything.
I mean, if you start spinning with tire, as I said, there are still some issues with this tire model. And one of them is actually that if you spin, it will take quite a long time for the temperatures to get down back into operating range. If you spin in, it is actually, yeah, it's not as bad as it could have been, because we have, of course, tried to make that better. But it is definitely true that if you spin and then you just go full throttle into the next turn, you will have a problem.
Like someone slapping, I think, some steel there. But also, of course, if you spin and just keep the throttle down to spin it around, you will lose a lot of tire life. So doing a burnout, just as in real life, isn't too good of an idea if you want to preserve tires and keep them for a bit longer than 2 years.
Yeah, save your burnouts for when you win the race and start doing donuts then.
Correct.
But for at this moment, it looks like HN is gonna be the one that will have to do those donuts, and he will likely not do them because I right now mention it or something. I mean, yeah, I mean, I've got like enough commentary curse already, so if I say he's gonna do donuts, he won't do donuts.
Well, you're basically the counterfeit measure to Lewis McLeod, who's constantly trying to, yeah, tell that the commentator's curse doesn't exist. And in a way, he may be right, because it's a completely, yeah, unrealistic thing. On the other hand, he's completely wrong, because whatever you say as a commentator, it just goes wrong afterwards.
So if I say HN is gonna win this,
okay, maybe there are limits to the commentators' curse. I'm not sure about
there
that.
are limits to my power.
But maybe at some point we will see Lewis McLeod on this podcast as well, and you two can argue while the race is taking place and people are just crashing out here and there because you're throwing names at each other. Who knows?
Oh, definitely, that is going to happen. But for now, just look and enjoy at this nighttime racing that we are having right now. It even is it actually? Yeah, it's. Is it getting lighter again?
Yeah, it is. We are driving into approximately 2 a.m. in the morning. And as we are in June, that means we have a very short night and full moon, as you might have seen at a few points in this race. But it's actually getting a bit brighter again.
Well, if it's full moon, watch out for the werewolves, I guess. But right now it looks like they are going into the last lap. It's the 40 seconds on the clock. So yeah, HN crosses the line right now, so he will go into his last lap. I mean, it's gonna be beautiful. It's like, I mean, he didn't get it for free. Let's keep it at that. He had to race for it. He had to push for it. He made a mistake himself. Alexander Emmer made a mistake. Dominic Ladler later made a mistake. The reason last mistake, the last mistake from Dominic Ladler was actually because HN was, as I said, just driving behind him, just putting pressure on him. He knew he could overtake him, but then the pressure would be on him rather than all the way around. And when you're under pressure, you will make mistakes.
Yeah, I also think that Ladler just wanted to get so desperate out of the turn. Use that, as we go back to topic, rear engine on the Porsche to get out of the turn as quickly as possible, and just gave it too much throttle. Maybe a too low TC setting for the tire performance at this stage. And just kicked him around, and then there's nothing else you can do once you lose it on the power. But Etienne just played it very well throughout the race. Recovered from his own spin, but I think everybody in the top 3 had a spin during this race once.
Only Lucas Bender hasn't made a spin.
He did, where he made the contact with Fritsch, with Timothy Fritsch.
So everyone's spinning. Has Joachim Thunder spun?
I'm not sure. I was thinking about it. He dropped back a lot in the start, but I don't think he spun. But he will tell us after the race.
He will tell us, and I will watch it back in the replay, because this replay will give us some amazing shots, I guess, like amazing screenshots, which will probably be shared in the Discord of RENNSPORT.
So if you want to know if Joachim Thunder spun during this race, join the Discord and tag him and ask him. Or maybe he will tell
Yes,
you anyway.
and please all tag him, like every single one.
However, it's Etienne coming through the final turn across the start-finish line, celebrating in style with the casual flasher, and he's across the line in first.
Will we do donuts? No.
Alex Emma in second and Dominic Lala completing the podium. And another podium for Dominic Lala, to mention that.
Has Dominic Lala won a race yet?
He has won a race, I think. I'm not sure which one. But I'm sure he did.
He's one of the quickest drivers that wins the least races.
Yeah, indeed. Even though he is a multiple league champion, because he's winning a lot of the community leagues, which are taking place throughout the week, which you can also now follow on the socials as well. So not only on the Discord, but on the socials, you have some very nice infographics telling you when which community race is going to start every Monday. Timothy Fridge in 6th, coming across the line, and then we are waiting for the first BMW to cross the line in the hands of Jean Gomez. And he will take 7th. And Tim Ireland was a bit off. I think he also had a few issues, or some misbraking quite heavily into turn 8 at some point. But he will be happy to take 8th place in this race.
Yeah, exactly. It's all very well driven by everyone. As said, this update released today, pretty much a few hours before this event started. People had to get used to it. Luckily, a lot of people told us it felt natural. So, of course, then it's a little bit easier to get into, but still very, good by everyone that they managed to finish this race. HN, of course, had a bit of a head start with it. So, yeah, I mean, I'm surprised that Dominic Latter was so well matched to HN.
Yeah, it was a huge fight in the front, especially throughout the early stages of the race. But I think in general it was a very enjoyable race, with also the difference in race condition. And I think night racing is something that we see quite often in the future. It's of course always part of the RENNSPORT ranked schedule, which will be renewed for the next 2 weeks. So we will run a new RCE in 2 weeks, as well as new daily combinations with a comeback, which we will tell you on Monday at latest. But what do you think can we take from this race? What did we learn?
That people can't overdrive the cars anymore like they are used to. TC0 is not the meta anymore. So, endurance racing is coming, man.
Indeed, and we are looking forward to this. And also, thanks for the people in chat to accompany us throughout this broadcast. And in 2 weeks, next week, of course, we will go back to the RCL for the 4th race in Orchard Road, which is currently looking like a very competitive league. I think Dominic Lala is actually also leading that one. So if you take a look, Dominic Lala is on 405 points to Joachim Thanas here on 38. But I think this league is far from over. So next time we will go to Singapore for episode 4 of season 1. As we went past halftime. And the week after, of course, with the next RCE, we will go back to a combo which we unfortunately weren't able to make use of in the week that it was planned for. And you will see what it is, at least at latest, on Monday. But here's the trailer for the next one. Enjoy, and see you next time.
Bye-bye.